Good morning, students. Students, in our previous lecture, we completed the discussion of the thermochemical equations, and in the last lecture, I also discussed with you the Born-Haber cycle, in which was the indirect method for calculation of a lattice energy. Student, you know there are two aims of a chapter thermodynamics and thermochemistry. Number one was to find out whether the reactions are spontaneous or not, or feasibility of a chemical reaction. And number second was to calculate or obtain the energy changes during any chemical reaction. As far as the energy changes are concerned, we have done with you how to calculate the energy changes during thermochemical equation. Am I clear? But yet, the answer to the question whether the reaction is feasible or not is not done. So, feasibility of a chemical reaction, the answer is yet to be given. So, now we will try to come back to the thermodynamics section of this chapter. The first law of thermodynamics was that delta U was equal to Q was equal to U plus W. That is, the heat absorbed or evolved will be used to perform change in the internal energy and the work done on the system. Now, the question arises, what are spontaneous process and what are non-spontaneous process? So, spontaneous and non-spontaneous process. As far as spontaneous process is concerned, spontaneous and non-spontaneous process. So, spontaneous and non-spontaneous process. The process which occur of its own is called as a spontaneous process. I mean to say, the process which has a natural tendency to occur either of its own or after initiation. A process which has natural tendency to occur, process which have a natural tendency to occur either of its own or proper initiation under given set of conditions. Under given set of conditions are called spontaneous process. Are called as a spontaneous process. Am I clear, student? Whereas the process which does not occur of its own is known as a non-spontaneous process. Whereas the process which does not occur of its own is called non-spontaneous process. Does not occur of its own is known as, is called as non-spontaneous process. Is called as non-spontaneous process. Is called as a non-spontaneous process. Am I clear? Now, student, we all know all natural processes are spontaneous. All natural processes are spontaneous process. When we talk about the natural processes, they are the spontaneous process. We all know that all the natural processes are the spontaneous process. The process which occur of its own are spontaneous, and all natural processes are spontaneous process. Like we say water in the form of a liquid. If we keep it in this manner, it may spontaneously change into the water in the form of a gas. Yes or not? You may assume any natural process like mixing of different gases, flow of water from higher altitude or from the hills to the earth, mixing of gases, that is diffusion. This is all spontaneous process. There may be certain spontaneous process which may require initiation, like hydrogen in the form of a gas, when made to combine with oxygen in the form of a gas, they may combine by passing electric spark. So what will happen? They may result in the formation of water, and this water may be in the form of a liquid. As far as these processes are required, they do not require any initiation. But if you consider this process, this may require the initiation. So spontaneous processes are those which may occur of its own either without initiation or initiation. Likewise, if we take carbon in the form of a solid, when burned with oxygen in the form of a gas, and they undergo the process of ignition. When they undergo ignition, they may result in the formation of a carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide will be in the form of a gas. Am I clear? So process which can either occur of its own or by proper initiation, they are called a spontaneous process. The process which does not occur of its own or nor after initiation, they are called as a non-spontaneous process over here. Fine. I mean to say the process which have no natural tendency to occur is called as a spontaneous process. Now here I start my concept of the discussion, why I am discussing the spontaneous and the non-spontaneous process. Why certain processes are spontaneous, why certain processes are non-spontaneous is the question related to this. When I say the certain processes are spontaneous, there must be certain driving forces which let them become a spontaneous process. Am I clear, student? There may be certain driving forces which led the process to become spontaneous. What are this overall tendency or the driving forces for the spontaneous process? First is the tendency of a system to achieve the state of minimum energy, and second is to achieve the state of a maximum randomness. So tendency, or I may say driving forces for spontaneous process. Driving forces means what causes the process to be spontaneous. Driving forces. Driving forces for spontaneous process. Driving forces for spontaneous process. The first driving force is tendency of a system to achieve a state of minimum energy. First is the tendency of a system to achieve a state of minimum energy. To achieve a state of minimum energy. Fine. And second is the tendency of a system to achieve a state of maximum randomness. Tendency of a system to achieve a state of maximum randomness. To achieve a state of maximum randomness. Am I clear, student? So when I say the driving force for spontaneous process, I mean to say the criteria for spontaneity. If these two criteria for spontaneity are achieved, then I will say that the process is spontaneous. Now, in these two criteria of spontaneity, it should be remembered that these tendencies are independent of each other. That is, both may act in the same direction or in opposite direction in a process. Note, both these processes are independent of each other, are independent of each other. Both these processes are independent of each other. That is, both may occur in same direction. Both may occur in same direction or in opposite direction. In opposite direction. Both are independent of each other. So, on this basis, we may develop the three cases. Case 1. When enthalpy change factor is absent, then I will say we will decide the spontaneity on the basis of a randomness. So, when enthalpy change factor is absent, when enthalpy change factor is absent, then randomness decides spontaneity. Then randomness decides spontaneity. Am I clear? Case second, when randomness factor is absent, when randomness factor is absent, then enthalpy change decides spontaneity of a factor. Am I clear? Decides spontaneity. Decides spontaneity. And in third case, when both the factor takes place simultaneously, then the magnitude of the tendencies become important to decide the spontaneity. Case 3. When both the factors occur simultaneously, when both factors occurs simultaneously, then the magnitude of the tendencies, becomes the deciding factor, for spontaneity. Am I clear, student? Then the magnitude of the tendency factor becomes a deciding factor for the spontaneity. Now, remember one thing. As far as the enthalpy change is concerned, we know the reaction will either be exothermic or endothermic. Earlier it was believed that only exothermic reactions are spontaneous. But there are many cases like melting of ice where the process is where the reactions are endothermic but yet spontaneous. So we cannot specify whether only exothermic reactions are spontaneous. It may be exothermic or endothermic reaction which can be spontaneous. I mean to say, on one factor it becomes difficult to identify whether the process will be spontaneous or not. Second factor will be the spontaneity factor. That is the measurement of a randomness of a system. This factor we have not yet studied. I told you in the beginning of the syllabus, this chapter, there are thermodynamic parameters like internal energy, enthalpy change. One thermodynamic parameter was entropy of a system. So when we will take randomness of the system into account, we will discuss with you the entropy. So definitely in the next lecture, first of all, I have to discuss with you the randomness aspect. So we will be definitely discuss the entropy thermodynamic parameter. Then to account for exact cause for spontaneous process, both enthalpy and entropy must be taken into account. When both enthalpy and entropy are taken into account, then we will take the free energy change to determine whether the process will be spontaneous or not. So free energy change will be a thermodynamic factor which will include both the enthalpy change and the entropy change, and from there we will definitely come to know whether the process will be spontaneous or not. Am I clear, student? So in our next lecture, I'll try to explain the entropy and the Gibbs energy change and find out whether the reactions are feasible or not. By doing that, all the aims of the chapter of thermodynamics and thermochemistry will be achieved and we'll complete the chapter. 1 or 2 more lecture and the chapter will be over. So till the next lecture, I expect you to revise your work, make the notes. We'll meet again in the next lecture. Thank you.